A Highland song immediately caught my eye when it was shown at the Nintendo Direct not too long ago. It was great seeing a game inspired by Celtic traditions, the art style was gorgeous, and the game reminded me of the likes of a short hike. But how does it play? And is the journey a worthwhile one?
I must have climbed the hill behind the house 100 times. I know every stone. But after that hill, there's another, and then another again. And after all that, then that's the sea. And I've never been there.
The game doesn't waste time. Moira, a teenage girl, sets out on a treacherous journey through the Scottish Highlands to visit her uncle Hamish, who lives in a faraway lighthouse. Straight away, I was captured by the calmness of the game. You're slowly but surely making your way out to sea, climbing mountains, exploring caves, and piecing together the history and folk tales of the area. And how it is delivered is brilliant. As you explore, you'll come across items. Sometimes they'll be used to find a shortcut later down the line. Others are maps that you have to go mark yourself. These maps will highlight landmarks or shortcuts, but first you have to climb to the nearest peak so you can survey the land and try to place a marker where you think the map is pointing to. And while I think some people would want to have a traditional map in this game, I think this system adds to the experience because you're discovering the land the same as Moira, as she has never made this trek before. There are so many optional branching paths that if you truly want to get lost in the world, then you can explore to your heart's content. Find items, complete every map, and finding all the secret locations. And the second I saw the Gaelic language on these maps, marking the landmarks and giving Gaelic translations, I was smiling from ear to ear. While Scottish and Irish Gaelic are different languages, there are so many similarities that I could understand roughly what these places were called. Well, I could understand them as far as my knowledge of the Irish language could take me. And then you get to my favourite part of the game. There'll be long stretches of land that you can run across, usually accompanied by a deer. And once you set off, a traditional Celtic song will start playing with different woodwind instruments that I'm not sophisticated enough to name, and the fiddle or violin playing as well. And any Scottish or Irish person will instantly light up hearing the music, and it makes it all the better that it has this little time platforming sequence that sync your jumps up to the beat. I rarely hear or see anything like this in a game, and I know it'll resonate more with me, but I loved every second of it, hearing the music and reading the language, or even down to the little things like Moira mentioning different brands of chocolate or different brands of crisps or chips as the Americans would call it that I would recognise, that just made me really enjoy it. Now from a gameplay perspective, this game is quite simple. There's a stamina bar that will run down depending on how much damage you've taken, what weather conditions you're in, and this determines how long you can climb or how long you can sprint before you have to rest. And other than that, all you can really do is jump, climb and sprint. And then there'll be a couple of context sensitive things like skimming a rock across water or interacting with something that might create a shortcut or even just give you a bit of background to the area that you're in. But there are a couple of issues that I have to mention. First of all, it isn't always obvious what paths you can take and which are simply set dressing. There were a fair few points where I was racking my brain trying to figure out where to go, only to discover that there was a path right beside me that blended into the background or foreground. The game can also be quite obtuse, and while I think it works in its favour with the maps that I mentioned earlier, there will be points where you'll be running around like a headless chicken, slowly climbing mountains that you've already explored, only to realise that the path takes you to a dead end. I think the benefits of the lack of hand-holding outweigh the negatives, but it's something to consider. And one final minor thing is that during the musical running sections, the game expects you to hold B and alternate between X and Y to jump, which can feel quite awkward. With all that being said though, a Highland song is a special game to me. It's not the fact that it's a tranquil journey through the Scottish Highlands, or that it has a beautiful hand-drawn art style. It's the Celtic roots that run through every inch of this game. It's seeing the Gaelic language on screen, it's hearing the traditional music as you run through the mountains, and while I'm Irish and this game is set in Scotland, our folklore, language and traditions all fall under the Celtic banner that I rarely see in games, and that's why I loved it. It has some gameplay quirks that could get in the way of your enjoyment if you don't have that cultural touchstone, but once you look past them, there is a great experience here. Thanks for watching. I would love to know if you're going to pick this game up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.